The two main fiction books I've read was this, well, three actually. Of course, you all love Emily Bronte, Wuthering Heights. I love the Bronte sisters. Of course, I love Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, and I've actually got a copy of Jane Eyre in my bookshelf. I just loved like the Wuthering Heights and how Emily has written how it's kind of like I always kind of was. I know it's quite difficult for me to interact, well, not interact, but to get to know the aristocratic family. But I kind of like had because the aristocratic family, they have those secrets, and I was like, I'm so fascinated. I'm fascinated with back. I'm more fascinated with aristocratic back in the days. The fashion items of the aristocratic, the clothes that the aristocratic women wore back in the days. Not the modern aristocratic, but like the old aristocratic. And I loved reading Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights, but I also love this one and the Falling Thread. I saw this on in the Blackburn Library on one of those quick choice shelf, and I was like, I've got to read this. Like, it's not in our time. It's back in the 1890. It's very like old fashioned. It's kind of similar to like when William Boyd and Emily Dickinson, and I was like, oh, I have to read this. But one thing I do like reading when I'm reading something in the modern age is last time I shared something, a book called Influential. Well, this one, if you loved Influential or have read it, I also recommend reading Allow Me to Introduce Myself, Her Life, Her Rules, Her Finally by Onyi Mobinieli. And what I loved about this book is because I took some pictures and I will upload them later, but I just loved how, Ophelia, who's the social media stepmom, she tends to, just use the stepdaughter and her daughter for like likes and views, and I see this quite a lot. Well, I mean, there are some family channels which I'm not gonna name, but where some of the children do tend to, kind of act spoiled and entitled. But the thing is, what I love about not Ophelia is the mother. What about of Anuri? She tries to take down her stepmother, and this is because due to her stepmother always acting like, not treating them like proper children, just saying, oh, you have to be ready for the camera's arriving, you have to model this, you have to wear this. And it kind of got to annoy to her, because I remember when I was a child, I was a child during the 2000s and 2010s. We had Instagram. When I was in high school, we had Instagram and Snapchat with filters and everything. We didn't have the Reels. The Reels only came out due to TikTok. But I didn't have TikTok back then as a teenager, but we had Instagram and Snap. I didn't have Instagram and Snapchat as a teenager. I didn't even know what it was. No one even bothered to tell me what Snapchat and Instagram was. I only researched more about this during my late teens, early 20s. At first I was like, oh no, I'm gonna stay away, but then I just gave it a go because I wanted to start a YouTube channel, but I couldn't start a YouTube channel without like having social media on top of that. So I started like researching to do social media content for my YouTube channel, and now I've realized, looking at the family, I will follow family channels and support them, but I'm not really too keen on having, like, if I have children, I don't want them in front of on my YouTube channel, because that's kind of for me, that's my work, and I don't want them to be on there. Well, but what I will do, if they're interested, I will teach them about YouTube. I'll talk about social media, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat. Snapchat I'm really a bit worried about though, because I feel like there were going to be a lot of pedophiles on Snapchat, so I will warn them more about Snapchat. But Instagram and TikTok, they can, but only if I'm, of course, there will be some parenting stuff, like, but TikTok, they will only have it like when they're 13 or over. But I mean, they could have it in the late teens. That's when I nearly started, but I started more in my early 20s, so I would say 20, but under 20 I wouldn't really allow them social media, especially a public one.